So happy to be joined by Jerome Bettis. And look, I've got to tell you two things about Jerome Bettis. Number one, he is a fabulous dinner guest. All right, so we're going to start with that. But I want you to tell me about the time you had Christmas dinner at the King House in New Jersey. Do you remember?
I do remember. I was so fortunate to be invited. A great time. And your wife is I think she's the salt of the earth. She's like one of the best people you ever want to meet. She's a Pennsylvanian. Loves Pittsburgh.
What about the apple pie?
The apple pie was to die for. Outstanding. So every time I see or even see you, I think about her apple pie. And I was just told before we went on air that I got an apple pie coming. So I'm holding you to that because it was that good. She's a phenomenal cook, for one.
And I just want to tell you, when I get home, we're going to have an apple pie
Absolutely.
for Jerome.
Please.
We're going to be sending Jerome the pie. But here's the other thing that I've told this story a lot, and you know what? You may never remember it. Late in your career with the Steelers, I came in to do a long story on you. It was the year that you ended up winning the Super Bowl and you walked out. And you walked away from the game. But what was so interesting about that year is I asked you about the time that you almost went to the Miami Dolphins in mid-career. You could have had a bigger role. You might have won a rushing title. You chose not to go. Bill Cowher, I think he even gave you an option about whether you wanted to go. You chose not to go, even though you might have made significantly more money, and you certainly would have touched the ball a lot more and easily could have won a rushing title. Okay, explain to me your thought process about why you did not want to do that.
So it was a latter part of my career. It was actually a year before I retired. It was the season, going into my 12th year. And it was the Chicago Bears, and Coach came to me in camp and said, hey, the Bears, they want to trade for you. But as, you've done so much, we want to lay it out for you, and you make the call. And I told them.
It doesn't happen very much in pro sports.
It doesn't. But they did that as the courtesy because they knew I wasn't going to be the starter that year. They had brought in Deuce Staley to carry the load, and that was the thinking. And so I told them basically, it's thoughtful, I appreciate it, and it's great to be wanted. But I know if I went to Chicago, they wanted the 1998 bus. Yeah. They didn't want the 2003 Jerome Bettis. And so I knew going in that I wouldn't be able to give them what they wanted. Because if they want a guy that's going to carry 25 times a game every week, I could probably do that for 4 or 5 weeks. But to try to do that for 16 weeks at that time, it would have been asking a lot. And I said to myself, I give myself a better chance here being a backup and being more effective than I would trying to carry the ball 16 times. And then the franchise say to themselves, well, we traded for you. Who is this guy? He's an imposter. And I didn't want to do that to myself, but I also didn't want to do that to that Chicago team that wanted me, thinking that they're going to get something that they really weren't.
The other part of it that was really interesting is you talked about how there were players who left Pittsburgh. You wanted to have a presence, maybe live in Pittsburgh after retirement, or at least have a presence in Pittsburgh. And you wanted to make sure that you never burned a bridge, and you because you loved Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and I've seen so many players at the end of their career, they can really kind of destroy the legacy that they created with this organization, right? You've got so much sweat equity in, but then you say, okay, well, I want to chase a little bigger paycheck, or I don't feel appreciated enough. And so what you do is eventually you wear your welcome out and you go someplace else, and you never really remembered or appreciated for what you did in Pittsburgh. And it's just an incredible town, and they appreciate the players that play for them, right? And they're loyal fans, and they love you to death. But if you kind of clip that, then you're doing a disservice to yourself sometimes. And I see a lot of guys do it, and I knew I was in that position, and I said to myself, I want to leave that legacy of having played in Pittsburgh and having been an outstanding Steeler and an outstanding person in the community as well.
You are the author of, to me, the most, the toughest running play I have ever seen in an NFL game. It happened in the snow in Pittsburgh against Brian Urlacher of the Chicago Bears. And I wonder, when that play happened, I'm in the press box that day. It's brutally cold, and it's snowing, and it is a perfect day for classic old-time football. And you played Rock'em Sock'em Robots with Brian Urlacher. Now, do you remember the play vividly? And what do you remember about it? And I want you to describe what goes through a person's head when they know that there is going to be a gigantic collision, and this might hurt a little bit. Yeah. So what goes through your head?
So first of all, I have to commend you because you find a way to be in the building at the moments that every player has an incredible time, and you just happen to be there. Yeah. So I just got to commend you on your scheduling, because it's like when Peter King is in the building, something special is going to happen. It just always works that way, because this was kind of when people kind of try to encapsulate my career, it's one play that comes to mind. And, of course, you were there to see it live, and it was a counter play. I mean, I remember like yesterday. It was a counter play. We were down in there, their part of the field, and the field had gotten really bad. And so I wasn't even playing in the first half. I had 1 yard in the first half. In the second half, I had 100 yards. Willie Parker was a much smaller back, and he was slipping around in the mud. I'm a mudder, so they threw me in. And it was one of those games where it just all came together. So it's a counter play. And actually, before I hit Urlacher, there was another guy that I had to run through. But I got up enough steam because the counter play I ran, I was just coming downhill. I saw the safety. I ran him over first, and then I saw Urlacher, and I knew he was coming. It was like it was in slow motion. I saw him coming, and then I was just able to get that shoulder kind of right underneath him and play a leverage game, and it just seemed like
It's all about who got lower?
It was all about who got lower, and so I was able to get lower, and he was trying to come up, and he had some momentum, but just not enough, because he had to fight through a tackle, and by the time he got to me, I was coming full steam, and I got a great shot on him, and to this day, there's a picture that kind of, remembers that moment, and he never signs it, right? He don't want to sign it. And I can appreciate that. I wouldn't sign it either. But at the end of the game, we traded shoes, and how about that? We went in the locker room because it was a special moment. I knew it was a special moment then. Yeah. And because they had the number one defense, he was defensive player of the year. It was all lining up. So I wanted to share something with him. So I gave him the cleats, and he gave me his cleats. So it was a special moment.
See, the cool thing about that is you didn't run over an average guy.
Right.
You ran over one of the best linebackers of the last 50 years.
That's right.
And that is a cool part of it. But there's one other run. I don't even know if you remember this, okay? Do you remember in Tampa, okay? See, your career, most people think of you as, an old-time running back who has to be physical, and the only way you can be really great is to be physical. But there was a play a running play in Tampa where you outran John Lynch on a long touchdown.
50-yard touchdown.
Yeah. And the thing that I will always remember about that is that day in the press box, you know, a bunch of writers who, you know, it's a big game. It's Pittsburgh and Tampa. You know, you kept hearing a holy bleep, you know, when they saw you in the open field running and you outran John Lynch. And so, like, to me, the underrated part of your career is that you were really fast.
Right.
You remember that play?
I do. It was the same kind of counter play, and I hit it. They were really aggressive coming downhill, and this was the last game that the Tampa Bay team lost before they went on their Super Bowl run.
Yeah.
So we beat them the last game before they went on the run and won it all. And it was a downhill play. They were really aggressive, and I cut it up and I cut back. And nobody expected me to cut back, and they didn't think I saw that cutback lane. Hit it in there, cut back, and then all of a sudden it was a foot race. And, you know, Derek Brooks he's back there trying to catch me, and Lynch is trying to catch me, and I was just to the house because they were talking a lot of trash to us before the game, and they were chippy at their plays. You know, Warren Sapp was sashaying in our line, so it was a very contentious time. So to break it open like that was a big moment in the game, and we went on to win that game.
Jerome, I'm going to finish with this. One of my big regrets of Super Bowl 57, I know when I look back at my life, is that I just had to do an interview with Deion Sanders, and it prevented me from going to the Nutmobile. And I am in mourning that I did not go to the Planters Nutmobile. You got to tell me about the Nutmobile, and you got to tell me about what you're doing with Planters.
Well, first of all, the Nutmobile is outstanding, and I'll be in it. I'll be going to a few places, passing out some Planters peanuts. So I'm excited about that. But I'm even more excited about. I don't want to give it all away, but the Mr. Peanut is going to be roasted. Super Bowl ad is going to be outstanding. I don't want to give too much.
Oh, you mean the ad on Sunday in the game?
Yes. Yeah, on Sunday, Mr. Peanut is being roasted. So you can only be a legend, right? Can only be roasted, right? And so this just solidifies that Mr. Peanut is, in fact, a legend. He's going to be roasted. That's all I want to say about that. You got to watch it. Tune in. Watch it. It's going to be a great ad, and everybody's going to enjoy it.
Jerome Bettis, thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Peter.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.